searching for a phone or a SIM-only deal to buy as a student? Today, we've taken a look at some of the best phone deals for students in the UK at the moment, and we've also explained what to look for when buying, so you can find the right phone deal for your needs even if you're new to the UK, or if this is your first time buying a phone or a SIM-only deal. But before we begin, click the link in the description to greensmartphones.com to find the cheapest deals on a phone or SIM-only plan when you're watching this. Just choose a handset you want to buy, or click on SIM only up here to find the cheapest plans on any network at the moment. So first, let's explain a little bit about what you need to look for when buying a phone deal as a student, so you can get the right plan for your needs. The first thing to think about is which networks you'd consider using. There are a lot of different mobile networks in the UK, so this topic can be a bit confusing, and we have a separate video on it on our channel. Basically, there are 4 big networks in the UK, which are EE, O2, Vodafone and 3, but Vodafone and 3 have merged recently and are currently combining their operations, so by the time you're watching this, it might just be 3 main networks you can choose from. Each of these other networks piggybacks off one of the big 4. Smaller networks like Smarty, Voxy and giffgaff have more basic plans, but they can often be a lot cheaper than buying from one of the big 4. We'll explain some of the better networks to look at later in the video. The next thing to think about is how much monthly data you need. Fortunately, data is quite cheap in the UK, so you can get 100 gigabytes for example for a pretty reasonable price most of the time, but above that you will often need to pay more, especially if you want unlimited data. So we recommend going to your phone's settings and checking how much data you're actually using. There's an option to look at this on both Apple and Android phones, allowing you to get an idea of how much data you actually need. And finally, think carefully about what contract length you want, or if you want a contract at all. You can see if we look at the cheapest SIM-only deals on our website, most of them have a 24-month or 12-month contract. This means there's a minimum period you'll need to commit for, and you'll need to pass a credit check before you buy. And if you get a phone on a contract, 36-month agreements are also pretty common to see. But if you just want a SIM on its own, you can find rolling monthly deals that don't require you to commit for a long time. Just come to the slider on the left on our website and put this down to 1 month, and you can see SIM deals with just a 1-month contract. As a student, the first mobile network we check out is 3. They're currently the cheapest of the big 4 networks, with a good range of 1 month and longer term SIM deals with a lot of data, and according to speedtest.net, they have the fastest average 5G speeds of any of the big 4 networks. As a student, you're probably going to be spending most of your time in the cities, so having fast 5G can be useful. 3 is also in the process of combining their network with Vodafone, so if you buy a 3 SIM, you'll also have access to the Vodafone network in the near future, maybe by the time you're watching this, making for even better coverage and speeds. The other good thing about 3 is they have a huge range of phones on a contract to choose from, and they're normally one of the cheapest options on the market, especially on new iPhones. And it's also worth mentioning, if you're just looking for a cheap SIM-only deal, 3 has this sub-brand called Smarty which uses their network. Smarty just focuses on cheap SIM-only deals with no lock-in contract and offers the same speeds as the 3 network from our testing. So if you want a really cheap SIM and don't need a huge amount of data, Smarty might be a better choice than 3 at the moment. The next best network we'd consider looking at is EE, but we wouldn't buy from them directly most of the time because they're really expensive. Instead, it's better to pick up a SIM from a network that piggybacks off EE, like Spusu or 1P Mobile. The good thing about the EE network is it has the best coverage, especially in remote areas. So in the countryside especially, you can often find you can get online and make calls in areas with EE where other networks like 3 don't have signal. The downside to Spusu and 1P Mobile is they don't offer phones on a contract, so if you want to buy a phone on the EE network, you'll have to do it from them directly, but just be aware this is very expensive, and the plans often come with speed limits and lets you pay more. So most of the time, if you want a phone on a contract, we'd recommend 3 over EE, but make sure to use greensmartphones.com, which we've linked in the description and pinned comment, to see which network offers the best prices on a phone you're considering buying. The last network we tend to recommend for students is Tesco Mobile. They use the O2 network, which is sort of similar to EE, in that it has really good coverage, especially in the countryside on 4G, but it doesn't have the best 5G speeds in the UK. The good thing about Tesco is, even though they're a smaller network, they have a huge range of SIM-only deals to choose from, as well as phones on a contract if you're looking for a new iPhone, Samsung, or Google Pixel. But the most unique thing about Tesco Mobile is their roaming allowances. With most other networks like EE, roaming is restricted to their more expensive plans, and with 3, you sometimes have to pay more for roaming to unlock it, and even then, you'll still be limited to 12GB per month. But with Tesco Mobile, you can use your entire allowance in 48 different countries, mostly in the EU, with no extra fees and no data caps, apart from your regular monthly limit. So if you're studying in the UK and you often plan on going to Europe, having a SIM with a good roaming allowance, like the ones Tesco sells, can be quite useful. So thanks for watching, and remember, click the link in the description or pinned comment to greensmartphones.com to find the cheapest deals on a phone you're considering buying, or to find the cheapest SIM-only plans on the market at the moment. And if you have any questions about buying a phone plan as a student, let us know in the comments below, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.